For the next part, we need to do a cleat or a support for the tray that goes inside. So I found a stick of walnut that's long enough to go the entire distance of my toolbox, and I planed it down to 3/4 of an inch. Now I didn't bother sanding it through the wide belt sander. For what we're doing, I'm only going to see 1/4 inch of it. So what I want to do is now set the guard to 1/4 of an inch. I lowered the blade just like we did before for your handle. And I'm going to cut 2 strips 1/4 of an inch thick to act as the support that goes underneath the tray. So there's one, and you need 2 of them. So I never push here, so be careful of that. Now we can move on from there. At the sander, we are going to see one of these faces, but I may as well sand both. I just want these faces to be smooth. This is the reason I didn't bother sanding this way, is because you're only going to see here. So get them sanded down nice and smooth to save yourself some time later, then we'll install them. Once these were sanded smooth on both sides, I simply measured from here to here, and in my case it was 18 3/4, and I cut these to size. Now I cut these a little bit small, just a hair short, so that I've got a tiny bit of play left and right. I find that that helps it fit tighter on the side if you happen to have some glue squeeze out here from your glue up and you didn't get it all scraped out. That will allow it to not have gaps on the ends. Now we have to do a little bit of math. So what we have to do now is glue, put these on in the right place and nail them in. Okay, now I suppose you can clamp them in if that's what you wish. But we need to decide how tall the tray is going to be. I would recommend never make a tray taller than 2 inches. The reason is because the distance from here to the bottom of this is a little less than 2 inches. So I should be able to lift it out and angle it up. Any taller than 2, you're also taking up about half of your volume here to hold things. So my tray I'm going to do at 1 3/4, just 1 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to do it about half the distance, maybe a little more than half. The original that I built was about 1/3, a little more than 1/3, and that is entirely up to you. But we need to decide how tall it is. So if my tray is 1 3/4 and this stick is 3/4, where's the bottom of this need to be? Because what I'm going to do is put some kind of support block underneath it that will sit under it to hold it in place while I nail it in. That ensures that I'm not putting it in crooked like that and the tray ends up on one end all the time. So we need to do the math. This distance here to here is 5 inches. So 5 inches minus my 1 3/4 tray minus my 3/4 tray is 2.5. So 1 3/4 plus 3/4 is 2.5. 5 minus the 2.5 is 2.5 inch gap underneath. So all I need to do is find a piece of scrap that is 2.5 inches wide by, that long. It just needs to fit in. I actually would not cut it my 18 3/4. It would be less. So I can get my fingers in and get it out after I've used it. Piece of melamine, piece of MDF, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you can find in the trash, cut it 2.5 inches long and wide and about this long, and we'll be able to use it as our support. I found a piece of the white melamine, just cut it 2.5, and it's wide enough. So we're going to put this in as a support. We're not gluing it or nailing it in or anything. This, however, is going to get glued and nailed. So that's how it's going to go. Now I'd recommend, if this piece has a big bow in it, put it so that the 2 ends touch and the bow is in the middle, because I can clamp that, or nails usually hold it in, but that will ensure that it's got pressure on the ends for the glue. All right, so just take your glue bottle, and you do not need a ton. You just need a line of glue basically down the center. That's not very much. I don't need a lot of squeeze out, not like gluing up a panel. And take your gun and stick it in there as flat as you can. Now if you're left-handed and your hand's here, then your gun is going to be more angled. So you want it so that the gun is as straight as you can make it. The nice thing is everything just gets angled down. As long as you're using the short nails, it's not going to go through. Then hit it once in the middle, then flip it over And I'll just use my other hand, make sure it's down tight, and do that. Then pull out your piece, which might be tight. There we go. And repeat.